Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Facebook Live. It is the 21st of September. I think it's like the start of the equinox or something. I just wanted to acknowledge that. And almost the start of fall weather here in the US as well. So let me get started with the panel. We have Patricia here. Good evening, Patricia. She is part of our core group of meditators. And then we have Francesca here. Good evening, Francesca. She is also part of our core group of meditators. And Ken is back from the road, 3 months on the road, visiting all kinds of recreational parks and national parks all across the country, and being in the unknown and traveling the unknown and coming back to his regular life. So good evening, Ken. Good to see you back in your normal environment.
Thank you.
And then we have Kimberly as well. And Kimberly, I think you have a question today. If you want to ask your question and let Patricia answer. And Patricia, after you're done, if I'm not back, hand it over to Francesca. Okay? Thank you. Go ahead, Kimberly.
What I wrote before was, I'm an introvert, learning to be in the now present power, and I love it. My question was, how can I connect to people? That's a very simple, easy question, but my problem is I love being an introvert. The pandemic, a lot of people couldn't take it, but I loved it. 2 years of isolation, I loved it. So now getting back to being, reading Eckhарт's book and being in the now presence, I'm really having a hard time being around people. Because, and I do go to, things are opening up, and I go to places where there's a lot of people, but once they start talking, it's like, oh my gosh, you got too much drama. I need to go somewhere else. So, and I'm trying to stay in the now presence, and it seems like most everybody that I meet, really, they are not. So how can I connect to people? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. That's a very good question. And I think that he actually, Eckhart Tolle, covered that question in many of his even talks, because it's coming up for almost everybody. The questions like, why do I even get involved in any activity with any people if, I'm so happy and present in myself? So, but we have different paths, and we are, once you connect to yourself, you can still be connected to yourself while you interacting with people. So I think in the beginning, he advises to practice as much as possible, which you already had so much practice, right? Being actually alone and meditating and connecting to the present moment, which is you. I'm the present moment. And then you will find that when you're going out somewhere, you can still connect it. And then you will enjoy the company of other people. I went through absolutely the same thing, because it felt like everybody left me, because I was in such a dark cloud all the time, attracting all the negativity, because I was angry, I was impatient, I was just stubborn and just ego all the time. So even if I made an effort, and from that point to connect to people, the judgment was coming out. So after I read the book, I said, let me practice this. Right. So I was going, but the judgment, so people would not react to it. if you find yourself that I don't want to connect to people, I mean, you want to, but you don't because you don't find it attractive, right? Because there are a lot of drama I can mention. Observe yourself. This is a huge lesson because I guess you're not, maybe not that you're not ready, but if you're still saying, I don't want to, even if the life is giving you a situation to exactly where you need to be to learn it. And Eckhart says it too in the book, right? The life will bring you situations. So maybe the life is giving you those opportunities to connect to people, to see that maybe there is still some work that needs to be done on your part. Because right now, I love people. I actually miss them. And even if something old, like old programming comes up, saying, oh, they're stupid or an idiot, or it goes away immediately. And I'm actually starting to get interested in what they're saying. And just my presence, they kind of switch. It's like the energy of the drama doesn't hit me, so they can't feed off of my, and they just turn around and we talk actually about something fun or something that you would be interested in. So in the beginning it's still hard because you want to kind of give up on them because it's like, why do I even bother? I'm present, and they're still in that programming. I don't want this to affect me. But I would give it a chance, and chance with the right like set of mind that we are all one. So if they're still running on programming, maybe something still in me that still responds to that, reacts to it, and I want to like hide from it. So now let me ask you, the want in, where is it coming from?
Well, it's before the pandemic, I was around people, but it's I've learned to go like travel alone, and I love it. I'm like, I never used to be like this because I had my younger two, and we'd go on day trips. But ever since the pandemic, and I didn't see them that as much. And then when things started opening up, it's like, oh, I need to go. Like I started to go to comic conventions. There's several going on where I live, and I says, "Well, I'm going to go alone," and and I says, for me to get out, I love going to them, and one of the things that I have really, where I don't live in the state that I grew up in. And where I grew up in, there was something that, because there used to be it's called the City of Festivals. There was something going on every weekend during the summer. And all my friends back home know what it's like to people watch. You go to these festivals and it's like you enjoy the music, you enjoy the food, and you just watch the people. We call it people watch. And coming, I've been gone for over 30 years from the state I grew up in. And I still do that. But in this state, nobody understands that I could go to a convention, have a good time, and talk to very few people, and just enjoy myself being there, and seeing like well, they got a lot of merchandise, so toys and stuff like that. But I just enjoyed the experience of going, and if I don't talk to anybody, that's fine.
That's
um
true. That's okay. So see,
yeah.
you find a way. The pandemic gave you a gift. You found yourself, your enjoyment in it. So you don't have to be relying on outside stuff to be with someone or to join just enjoying yourself. And out of this, if you do it more and more, I think you might meet someone that it's on the same, vibration level, and you might have, that, you know, friend that you like to do things with together, but it's like if you don't have we are friends, you're enjoying it. If you are with a friend you're enjoying, so you now get to just enjoy it no matter what. You're not
Well,
relying,
well,
on
one of the things that I live close to Washington, D.C., and the Smithsonian, and I've been to two of the museums so far, the National Geographic and the Bible Museum. And I went alone, and it's like just uh, I want to capture all the Smithsonian museums next year because I could go like pick 1 day of the weekend and just spend 1 day in one a Smithsonian museum, and then the next weekend go to another one. But it's like when you go to the museum, you go because you enjoy it and you're there and you're present, and you like if you go to the art museums down there, it's like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And it's like I'm in my little world walking around the museums, and I'm kind of happy. And it's like there's
but you're
miserable
judging yourself. You don't. It's silly. You observe the judgment coming up, and it only can bring you to more presence.
right.
Just use it to that, because I experienced it. I went to museums by myself because first I always was waiting for someone and nobody was interested. It's like I'm not gonna miss that experience because I'm relying on someone else to come with me. So I was to go alone. And there were some other people alone, and I would just enjoy the moment, enjoy the art.
Hmm.
And then I had this incredible experience, and I didn't miss, because you're going there for you.
Right.
So you're not, yeah, dependent on someone else to bring that experience for you. You just actually, that's a good practice. And when people, come, like I mentioned, and you find yourself on the same vibrational level, it will just happen naturally. Otherwise, because people, I think that a lot of us just have in mode of going places. We have to do it. Oh, the exhibition, let's go. And then they go there. And what did you see? What did you, I don't know. It's like it was a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like, okay. And they don't even remember being there. They just have pictures or just some folders to just put in their memory book, but they actually not living in that moment.
Well, one of the things from I forgot which book, if it was Now or New Earth, the more you're in the now presence, the people around you won't understand you, and they will kind of like not want to be around.
Why do you need them to understand you? That's
Right.
my point. You're still thinking as them being your focus, not the experience.
Right.
So it's
Right.
telling you something. You think you don't, you think you're free, but because you're still looking it through the lenses of I need them, or they don't understand me, or I don't understand. There's a lot of judgment still there, and a lot of identification with how the moment is supposed to be versus what it is.
Right.
So how do you connect to people? You answered that. Let me see. What do you think?
Um, for me, probably to stay in the now presence because I'm learning to enjoy it, and I love it. And if I can't connect to people, I'm okay with it. It's
Right? So
they
you're connecting to yourself, and that's the main thing, right? That's the thing. Yep. Practice present moment. And you keep enjoying, because I see how much you're lighting up when you talk about it. So yeah, it will, I think, just happen. Like it happened with this group, right? You came to us. It's not like we had to, you all made an effort. It just happened. So universe will give you those experiences. Thank you.
exactly.
Thank you so much, Patricia. So, Kimberly, when you say I'm an introvert, and learning to be in in presence. When we say I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I am so and so, whatever follows the I am, we are reaffirming it back to ourselves. And that's why Eckhart says, don't build an identity. Don't cover up the world with labels. And that includes labeling ourselves as something, right? So drop the label, I'm an introvert. You're not an introvert or an extrovert. You're just a field of presence. And now that field of presence is waking up and making the coffee. Field of presence is making the celery juice. Or a field of presence is getting in the car and driving to work, right? So how can I connect with people? The more deeper we get into presence, we actually start to love people.
Yep.
So it's something like you will feel a connection. Like, by the time we talk to Ken is going to talk about, it'll be a connection with the whole universe. Like when I go on walking I use Dr. Joe Dispenza's walking meditation, and I go for a walk like at 5:30 in the morning, right? So the birds, as the sun is coming up, the birds are moving towards the east, right? And I just feel such a and there are these crows. I think they're not even like the most attractive looking birds. There are a lot of blackbirds or crows, I think, and they come in a flock, you know, and they fly over the building, and they just sit there like in meditation. And I'm like, I say good morning to them, right? It's like a connection with even connection with whatever is around you. Like my experience of the morning walk is the newness that comes in is that the birds suddenly show up. Like they're not there, and then as the sun rises, they start to show up, right? And they come in a huge group, and then they sit on the top of the building, and I say good morning to them. So it's like you begin to feel that connection, and that is really, really important, to feel that connection. That is our innate nature, to feel connection towards,
Belonging. It's that also feeling of belonging.
because that's what you're yearning when you're saying, how can I connect with people, right? You want to feel that connection towards other people. The other thing I would say is, I think chapter 8 or chapter 9 of the Power of Now, Eckhart has either dedicated the chapter called Enlightened Relationships, or he has a section called Enlightened Relationships. In School of Awakening, he has a whole module related to relationships. So relationships are really, really important. How nurturing our relationships are is showing a reflection of who we are. Right? If I cannot nurture a relationship, then that means there's something lacking in myself, right? So that's something that we have to see. So it may be that you're starting your journey towards presence, right? The more deeper you go into presence, that in itself will be the healing. That in itself. And then you have to look at this conditioned pattern that the ego may have caused. Sadhguru says the ego is like a cocoon, right? It builds a cocoon. It may be the safety net that you built around yourself, that, okay, I'll build this wall around myself, that nobody enter this wall, so that they don't hurt me. Maybe we get hurt, right? Something happens, some traumatic event happens, some challenging circumstances happen, and then we build a wall saying, nobody come to me, right? Come hurt me. And that wall is what will prevent us from interacting with another. But the interaction is always, no matter who it is, you'll feel a connection. You'll feel a connection to a tree. You'll feel a connection to your monitor. You'll feel a connection to the email you're writing. You'll feel a connection to every word that you're typing, right? that is what presence power is. Like when you are typing an email to somebody, when you're saying thank you very much, are you really feeling the gratitude and thanks and sending them the thanks? That's meta, right? In Buddhism, it's called meta loving kindness. Are you sending them loving kindness? Every email that I write, thank you so very much. Absolutely grateful for the help, or absolutely grateful for it. And then I end it with have a wonderful day, right? I cannot send many blessings on a work email, right? They'll think she's crazy. But when I say have an absolutely wonderful day, I'm sending that meta loving kindness in that email. Like I'm sending them blessings. And no matter, that's not even a person that I may have met or seen, or but you're sending them blessings. So it's something like that. So that connection, wanting that connection, is what will overcome how can I connect with people. You become one that goes and connects. So let's ask Francesca what her tips are as well. Thank you, Kimberly, for the question. It's beautiful. Thank you, Patricia. Go ahead, Francesca.
Hi, Kimberly. Great question, and both what Patricia and Poonam said, is basically just trust and keep flowing. As you come into presence, right? Of course, the ego is going to bring up, different resistance in the form of judgment. And I think it was Patricia that mentioned judgment. That's what's coming up. And so that's usually an indication that it takes a lot of work, and it's hard to get to real full presence. And as you go closer to it, I don't know if you're using any tools. I highly recommend reading Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. Like it's literally at my bed, the head of my bed, because I read it, and I reference, and sometimes if I feel like too much, is pulling my consciousness outside of that state, and I pick that book up. Even if I read one paragraph, you could feel the energy of his word. It just brings you right back. From what I'm hearing, it seems like your egoic state of mind is using judgment to pull your mind into future psychological time. And the Power of Now actually talks about psychological time, because the mind becomes trapped in past psychological time or future psychological time, and in presence, there is no time. So it sounds like, because you're, thinking, okay, I'm, and I think Puna mentioned the labels. I recommend dropping the labels. You're if you want to label yourself, I abuse my ego sometimes. I'm like, I'm a divine being of love and light, I give myself that type of label. I'm not going to say I'm an introvert, or I'm, so as you come into this beautiful presence, I would say mindfulness, as you move through this phase of your journey becomes a part of your practice. Mindfulness in your thoughts that you think, the words that you use, the labels. And I feel like there's a little bit more work, inner work in the background that needs to happen, because as we move from our head to our hearts, which is from our egoic, state of mind into our heart's higher, conscious wisdom, right? We go through that process where we dissolve, those pain body entities, and we evolve that egoic state of mind, right? What happens is you start to, the wisdom that come forth from whatever inner work you're doing, you actually start to embody that wisdom, because you're coming into understanding. And the more you understand, the more you could see people through different eyes, through a different set of eyes, instead of seeing them as, being dramatic, or, like for me, I practice even on Facebook when I communicate, right? If, based on the words people use, based on, if I'm hearing them in person, based on their voice, right? Their tone of voice, based on the words they're using when they're speaking, it's easy, right? It becomes easy to tell, their state of consciousness, or where they're coming from, based on the words that they use, their choice of words, because there's something that this journey teaches you, in relation to mindfulness and its communication. And I'm not talking, it's like communication 101 in this dimension, which is like a whole new level of communication. And it's taking me years to learn because, you know, you have to, you know, adjust. And it's like, oh my God, I just did that again, you know, so we're going to stumble along the way. But the key is to keep practicing, right? So practicing mindfulness. So what I wrote here, a little note is, you know, enjoy, like for example, Puna mentioned nature. I wrote nature here as well too. You know, go for a walk in nature as a way to practice, right? That presence, allowing that presence to grow, embody that. And nature is easy to practice with because, you know, there's birds, trees, and so forth. So you can allow yourself to open up, you know, safely. If there's, you know, if there's a residue of insecurity, you know, it will allow you to open up safely so that you can feel that vibration, experience that bliss. Because I feel like if you allow yourself to open up in that regards, you're going to have a blissful experience. Because you get to, you know, so allow yourself to engage, like Poonam said, you know, she says, I talk to nature all the time, man. I'm talking to like birds, butterflies, whatever, you know, fly by. Sometimes I'm thanking them, you know, because nature is medicine too, right? They're signs. And one of the things that happens on this journey is the universe orchestrates everything in its power to meet us, you know, and when it does that, it meets you. Sometimes, yeah, it might send somebody into your vibration that's, you know, displaying that's running a program that you might unconsciously be, you know, you probably have it within you, not know that it's there, and you know, you're having bliss because you could become blissful, right? You could be having a blissful experience, and then all of a sudden somebody just starts screaming at you, right? You know, these are all signs, synchronistic signs, that showing you there's a program within you, you know, that's deep, that's running, and, you know, it's just a little sign to take a look at it, right? You know, for me, I love the question, why did that energy show up today? You know, here is the thing though, as you come into awareness, sometimes that energy shows up because your vibration is so high, it makes those energies uncomfortable. But normally what happens in that case is they just disappear. They just leave, they walk the other direction. I'll give you a great live example, actually. We were on the, I forgot the bus that I usually book. I was taking Charlotte to music lesson on Monday. And as we were coming back from music lesson, we got to the, we call it, I'm sorry to say this word, but it's the stinky SkyTrain station. And the reason being, it's because I swear to God, I don't think the city cleans it often. And they're selling, they have this huge display that they're selling like weed, like marijuana, inside of these big jars. My daughter was like, Mom, what are those things in the big jars? And I'm like, why? And so I explained to her what it is. And she's like, oh my God, that looks like the thing that gets stuck in the horse tails, you know, on the farm. And she's like, I was wondering, why do they have big jars of it and why are they selling it? But anyways, as we were coming back, all of a sudden one man started hitting another with like a stick, like they were getting into a fight. And here we are having to walk by the situation, right, to, you know, go up and get the SkyTrain. So, you know, I breathe and I told her, because I want to make sure this didn't affect her, you know, or enter her consciousness, you know, in a negative way where she might become traumatized or anything. So right away, I'm like, okay, breathe, drop into presence, and just breathe. And then I told her to chant. So there is a Buddhist chant that we do. It's the Vajrapani. And I said, and just chant. And then I told her, I'm like, focus on your solar plexus and this area. So the solar plexus and the sacral chakra. Okay. And then imagine that energy, just, you know, don't allow it to enter, just imagining it being outside of your field, and chant and just be present. And, you know, when we came home, and so as we were in the SkyTrain, she's still looking back. And I'm like, you know, why are you looking out there? She's like, oh, you know, I think the guy is still, I'm like, you're still giving it energy. She's like, oh. And then the two men that came on the SkyTrain, they were, you know, addicts, and they were, you know, in really poor condition. And I'm like, you're still giving energy. to it. And we've already passed that situation. I'm like, don't give it any more energy. All of a sudden, the two guys that were like next to it, they moved. They all went to the other side of the SkyTrain. I'm like, see what just happened? And she's like, yes, yes. Right. But it's just a little example of, you know, in a real life situation, again, practicing that presence, right? And, you know, allowing yourself to drop all those labels, right? Because the labeling comes from, again, that dualistic state of mind, right? It's the ego that comes up with these labels, the egoic state of mind. And then again, I would recommend doing some journaling around judgment, right? Because what happens is when you become present, there is an essence to it. You will feel it. Like there is not knowing when you're present. In fact, you'd be smiling all the time for starters, it's like you're walking around, it's like, and you don't, I don't even think there's a space for labels or anything to possibly come up. I can't put it into words. All I know is like none of that stuff comes up because it's like, you know, you're in a different dimension or something. I call it a different dimension, you know, for the lack of a better word, right? But yeah, it's something that you will know when you've embodied that essence and you're in that state. There is no not knowing. And you start to see everything, even like when you're in samadhi, you start to see everything makes perfect sense as it is. Even if there's something crazy going on in the world, it's like all of a sudden everything is happening as it should. And there's no reason to even interfere. And I know to the mind that doesn't make sense. Believe me, my mind have, you know, after I've come out of that state, have analyzed that and all of that stuff. Yet it all makes perfect sense. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Because there's, you know, laws to the universe, the law of cause and effect. And, you know, as you move from the head to the heart, you start to learn all of, you know, you come into the wisdom of all of these different laws and how they work. You know, you start to understand energy, frequency, you know, vibration, all of that stuff, right? And believe me, it all makes perfect sense. So I highly recommend doing some journaling, you know, look at, you know, where is that judgment coming from? You know, and because that's what's blocking you from opening up and allowing yourself to experience the gifts that the universe wants to give you. And I feel like you're really close to experiencing that bliss, because as you were sharing and as Patricia was sharing and as Poonam, I feel like you're like right there. And it's just like this little, you know, yeah, the psychological time, it's just that little thing that's going on, that little chatter, you know. So use meditation to help you to see, ask the question, you know, to help you to see what is it that you need to move, you know, within you that's blocking you from having that experience, right? Because I think you will experience bliss. Once you move through this, you'll be able to experience beautiful state of bliss. Let me see if I wrote anything else down here. Oh, I said, be yourself. Be your beautiful self, right? You're a beautiful being of love and light. And you know what? Trust in that. And you know, even if you don't trust anything in the world or in the, you know, I'm like, trust in that, because we were all, you know, there's the part of us that's here in human form, and then there's the being, right? You are that being, you know, allow it to guide you and just flow with the synchronicities. Don't analyze it. Don't let that analytical mind, believe me, I have, and I used to have it really bad, that over-analyzing mind. Yeah, don't allow that to rob you from the experiences. In fact, flip it on its head and use that analytical mind so that to help you come into understanding of, you know, oh my God, why did this experience happen today? Why am I feeling triggered? What about this triggers me? And use it as a tool to ask the right questions, to ask those questions, which will in turn aid you, you know, assist you in your healing. And it would open up the doors of infinite possibility, because it opened up the doors of understanding. And it helps you to equip yourself with that wisdom so that you can help yourself heal. So yeah, you know, flip it, use it as a tool. I think that's what I wrote down so far. Did it answer your question? And do you have any questions or anything else in that regard? Does it make sense
Well,
what I shared?
one of the things with connecting to people, it's learning to be in the presence power, and I'm alone and I'm loving it. So it's like, not that I want to be around people, but it seems the more I'm in the presence power, like you said, the people I'm witnessing that it's like I could see their ego come out, and especially at work, it's like I'm walking around in the presence power at work and I'm loving it because I get to go to the gym and they got brick oven pizza in the cafeteria. My coworkers are stressed out and yelling, and I'm like, what? I'm and I get to listen to music because they opened up YouTube. So I listen to music all day while I'm working. So I don't even hear their conversations. I'm like totally in with what I got to do, why I'm there, you know. And I says, well, this is something that I'm learning to, because with the pandemic, we got called back into work a couple days a week. And it's like, oh my gosh, I love being at home doing my job. I love being here doing my job. I just don't want to be around my coworkers. so that's kind of where learning to be in the presence power. I can't even connect to my coworkers. You know, it's like I try to, but it's like I see how miserable they are, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And miserable because their conversations aren't even talking about work, because you know you have your BS sessions with your coworkers just to try to get to know them. And I says, okay, let me stay in the presence power because they're draining my energy. That's one of the things that for me to connect with people, as soon as they start draining my energy, I gotta, and if it gets really bad, I gotta actually remove myself and from them. And I've done this a few times with coworkers and you know, people that I know. It's like I can't be around you. I mean, um, because during that situation, it's like I'm in the presence power, and it's like it seems like it's like people want to steal my joy, because I'm just okay. I'm in the state of joy of just being where I'm at, and people don't like that, so they kind of want to, you know, drain you of your joy. So that's one of the things that I'm learning. The more I'm with my presence power, the more I live alone, but it's like the more I'm really loving it to live alone. So that's one of the things that learning how to connect with people, um, it's kind of hit or miss, you know, because I really don't want to be drained of energy.
Okay, so
And before you answer,
I hear.
Francesca, just a quick thing that came up to me, and I think I need to say this because I've been exactly where you were. When you still thinking of yourself, I'm in the present moment and enjoying it, and they're, you know, suffering there. You're not in the present moment. You're not.
Echoing what Patricia said, that's exactly how I was going to start. I was going to say, you know, just hearing you share, I don't think you're in the present moment as yet. And that's okay. Believe me, a few months ago, I felt like I walked through the fire of hell trying to become that presence that Eckhart speak about in The Power of Now. It literally, because it was like anything that I hadn't worked on was coming up, and everything was happening all at the same time. So, you know, again, what Patricia said, she's exactly right. I don't think you're in the present moment as yet. It doesn't mean you're not, you know, getting there. It just means there's a little bit more inner work that needs to be done, you know, in relation to, and what I mentioned earlier, insecurity. So there is something here. I wrote insecurities and I put a question mark because one of the first questions I wanted to ask is what's stopping you from, socializing. And then, I put insecurities with a question mark. And then you said you have a hard time being around people. And just now your description of why you're having a hard time being around people, again, is coming up. I think that there is something within you, some form of insecurity, right? Also, in addition to the judgment that's creating these labels, that's causing the judgment to arise. And this is how pain bodies work, right? It attaches, so the cycle, so a pain body cycle, what it does, it attaches, it creates, the egoic state of mind is the master story creator, right? It creates the narration, the story that it wants you to believe and it wants you to think, right? Which, and when the mind becomes stuck in the past psychological time and future psychological time, my God, good luck seeing it. Thanks to Eckhart's book, at least now, we're like, oh my goodness, that's what's going on. At least that's the way it was for me when I realized, oh my God, and the moment I had the realization, it vanished, right? So, the pain body, it has a cycle. Everything I call it cycles of suffering, right? So there is something, there's a cycle, there's a story that's playing beneath the surface, and it's coming, it includes that space of insecurity, and which is resulting in judgment and so forth. So all of these thoughts that you're having, like I listen, I usually have my headphones plugged in when I go for a walk, when I'm working, even corporately when I used to work, right? But what I do is, I'm not just listening to anything. I listen to high frequency music, right? High vibrational music, like solfeggio frequencies, and, depending on what the universe is, whatever is flowing or blowing in, that day, right? So, I recommend, doing a little bit of diving through journaling into the insecurity, because there's something in there that's blocking you from allowing yourself to move forward and receive in that regards. But yeah, from what you're describing, there's definitely, you're definitely not in the present moment as yet, but you, again, you can get there. I recommend, as you're doing your journaling, reading Eckhart's Power of Now as well, because I guarantee the answer is in there. Right? It would save you a lot of, do the self-inquiry, allow yourself to feel into it, because there are things, that are going to come up for you, that will dissolve in the process as you're feeling into it. But definitely use his book as a reference with regards to that. Yeah. Because remember, your co-workers, they're just coming from where they're at based on, so their state of consciousness is showing up based on where they're at in their journeys. They're not doing this work that we're doing or that you're doing. So how can we even expect them to show up as we are? Pardon?
There's no way to know that, Francesca.
There is what? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'm going to interrupt here.
Go ahead.
You cannot know where someone else is at unless you're having the conversation with them. So while Eckhart Tolle's book is really, really good, he outlines a lot of really good information for the ego. What I feel we should be talking about is not judging others who we don't know, but actually talking more about the process and the mechanics of how the ego works to help Kimberly. She's asking a question about connecting with people. So what we need to talk about is we need to actually talk about our own personal experiences with the mechanics of dealing with our own separation and our own struggles with the ego, and not judging other people that we do not know.
Absolutely. Yes.
To address Francesca, please, you need to understand that one of the things that you do that indicate that you are not in the present moment is that you do not listen. You talk a lot. You need to understand how to sit back and be in observation and not repeat yourself. This is something that the ego loves to do, okay? So, sorry for the interruption, but the constant repetition of go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book. You need to give other people space, Francesca. It's really great that you're on the panel. It's really great that you are aware of the journey and aware of the work that needs to be done. But you need to discipline yourself and your awareness and your ability to listen to others. So your awakening experience a year ago is still very loud in your nervous system. And your nervous system has not recalibrated yet. So as an introvert myself, I would like to, I'm just going to jump right in here because this needs to be said. The best thing as an introvert that you can do, Kimberly, is to experiment, is to try one-on-ones, and to also listen to what your body tells you when you are around certain people. And yes, people who do not do this work, who are unconscious, will seek to claim your energy and try and destabilize you. This is just the way it is. So one of the things as an introvert, I understood that I'm just going to have to deal with the rest of my life is listening to other people's pain. And pain is the common language of the unconscious. And pain is just how people communicate because they don't understand that there can be a different space. And as an introvert, I've had to learn how to deal with this and cope. And that's made me stronger. And it's made me understand how to listen not just to my own pain so that I can dig through it, but also to understand that anytime anyone is interacting with me and I feel drained, I have to also observe myself and not reject anything that I feel. I can't judge another person or reject where they're at, especially if they're unconscious. Especially if they are going, I mean, again, we don't like, you never know what someone's going through unless you actually have that conversation with them. And oftentimes, and from my own personal experience, when I've had trouble with coworkers, it's because I haven't taken a moment to actually connect with them or actually ask them a personal question. And, you know, I'm totally fine being on my own. I love being on my own. I love my space. For me, like the COVID lockdowns and the COVID craziness last 2 years, I was just like, okay, you know, like what? I mean, very lucky to be living where I am in Canada. It was very easy. I didn't have a job that was dependent on any particular medical procedure. So I've been very lucky. However, the point about connecting with people is if you are having trouble with something outside of you, and this is the way that the world mirrors, right? Anything that you're having trouble with outside of you is a mirror of your own internal conflict and your own ego attachment to resisting seeing past that. 30 years of doing this consciously, and like every single time it's just like the same thing. Anytime I forget it, it's like the world's like boom in my face. It's like, okay, hold on a second. You need to listen. You need to like, okay. And especially as an introvert, sometimes I take more time to recalibrate, to process what I'm actually listening to. So connecting with people is always about ourselves, especially humans. And there's nothing wrong with having trouble connecting with people or preferring your own personal space. I always do. I always prefer my own personal space. Partly because of who I am, partly being as sensitive as I am. And this is also another thing that you might want to look into is any psychic gifts that you might have. If you might be a medium or something, or a sensitive of that nature. Because if you are, and you have no, because there are lots of little tricks. I mean, my favorite one is wiggling my toes to sort of bring me back to the present moment.
I'm glad you bring that up. I'm an empath and a clairsentient.
Okay.
So as an introvert, I recharge when I'm alone. But
Sure.
when I'm around people, my empath and clairsentient is if you're a ghost hunter, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience is you feel what's in the air. I could feel a room when I walk in, and sometimes if a room has this negative dark energy, I walk back out because there's somebody in there that is just emitting, if it's their ego or whatever's around them. I just don't want to be around it, so I just leave. So that kind of I get that when last weekend I went to a 2-day singles conference. I loved it.
Okay.
I love the food. I talked to the person to the right of me. She was there a little bit, but as the singles conference, there's men there. I didn't want to talk to the men because I loved being there, and they had a workshop. And during our breaks, I walked around. I walked around the building. I loved what I was exploring the building, and I'm just looking at the people. And I says, I'm only here because of the workshop, not to, it's a singles conference. And it's like I didn't connect with anybody there to even be friends with. And I says, no, I enjoyed the speaker wrote a book, and I got the book, and I want to read her story for her journey. But it's like I just enjoyed being there. The food was fantastic, and I left it. And then I says, well, you're supposed to even the women there be friends with, befriend with. And I says, I really didn't connect with anybody. But I learned a lot because you say the coincidences, that workshop actually was kind of reiterating some of the stuff what I read in Eckart's book. I was like, oh, this is a coincidence, so I have to pay attention for it. So I'm working on me and working on my past pain bodies. So that's why when you don't recognize that you have a past pain body and I want to work on it, it comes up in it's like I'm reliving the experience.
Yeah.
I think
That's
what
trauma
Eckart,
like that. Yep.
I think that's what Eckart was saying, is you use your now presence to look at that past pain body, but using the now presence. It's going to come up like it happened today, but you're in the now presence of the now. And it's like, and work through why that experience happened. And I highlighted and underlined both of his books. So it's like, okay, let me go back to his books. And it's like, why did this past pain body come up now? Especially like at the singles conference. And it's like, okay, it's like I wanted to run away.
Again, if I may, so if you have any active clairsense, you are going to need more than just training in being able to mentally analyze the ego. You need, and for my own training years ago, when I used to read people and do things, you need physical mechanisms that you can use. You need invocations and decrees that you can use for your mental well-being and your energetic well-being when you're around people, because if you're picking up information from other people, you will need to develop a personal practice that actually energetically gives you a shield.
I wear, it's a talisman. I got my birthstone, and this other thing that I wear, it's a cross with the fish, but it's actually an ancient pagan symbol. So I wear this where I don't take it off, and people, I got
mine too. But
they
only work as strong and as disciplined as your mind is, and as strong and as disciplined as your shielding methods are with your mind. So one of the things about being clairsentient, and I love watching the Ghost Hunter shows because they use a lot of mediums, they use a lot of clairsentient people, And I love watching what they do to see whether or not they're actually using the right techniques. So there's a whole conversation that we could have on this. But if you look up invocation and decrees, I am presence, invocations and decrees, especially Archangel Michael stuff.
Okay.
And this is very specific because Archangel Michael has on this planet a very specific mission to clear and clean up all of the dense negative energy, all the dense negative separated astral energy of the fourth dimension, which is like all the ghosts and the much less pleasant entities out there. So if you are clairsentient, and if this has been awakened, is this like something that's been there your entire life?
Yes, and I think I posted something on the post of the guardian angel that has been following me since 2012. It is a demonic winged angel with cross on his forehead. I got introduced to him in 2012, and between 2013 and 14, I actually saw him on the top of my apartment building. And in 2012, when I was still married, my ex-husband saw it standing next to me.
Wow.
So that's where my past pain bodies, I don't know if it equated to the marriage, but that has that entity has been following me, and so I've come to embrace it as my guardian angel. When I first saw it, no, that and my at the time, my littlest one, she saw it too, but it was when we were at a church and it was on like the church steeple. She saw it fly over there, and I says, "Yeah, I'm feeling that this thing is following me," and that's one of the things that working through my past pain bodies is why, you know, with the ghost hunter shows, that's a totally different topic. But I'm able to now I'm able to discuss this with my second ex, and he said that during that time back in 2012 and before, when those shows were, you know, my family, we were ghost hunters. He says, you were bringing in things to the house and you didn't even know it, but they were staying, and he had to clear out the house, but they weren't there to hurt me. So it's like, okay, this is that. I owned a haunted house too, so that kind of didn't help.
Yeah, the air behind you, like I can tell, like just even like visually, the air behind you is pretty thick with presences. The reason why I suggest Archangel Michael is because he is the unequivocally reigning authority on this planet for protection and for clearing dense energies in this manner.
Ironically, you mentioned Archangel Michael back in, I think maybe the beginning of 2013. Like I says, I was going to church because I didn't know what was happening. During the church service, I was given his sword. Weird things were happening in this church, and my younger two daughters were seeing entities in this church, and I was like, oh, is this a haunted church? But when my ex-husband came to church, he was like, what is going on here? He was just seeing way too much around all the people in there, and he says, you guys shouldn't go here because whatever is inside the church is really not for, you know, our children. But that's just one of the things I have to remember.
So one of the things about being clairsentient or or having any of the clair senses awakened is that it will open you up to the astral realms, both the lower and the higher realms of the fourth dimension, and it can cause problems, cause you to see things. And this is why I work with Archangel Michael so resolutely all the time. And there are aspects of religious practices and ritual that are very, very relevant, and the information has been forgotten. And the archangel, you should always call them. Look into the I am presence protection. practices with Archangel Michael. Again, because humans, when we have trauma, and how this, my voice just wants to keep getting deeper here. When we have trauma and we are not aware of how this affects our energy bodies, we need certain practices to ground our energy and to calibrate and balance and strengthen our energy. So while Eckhart Tolle's information is fantastic for understanding the mechanics of the ego, understanding what we're feeling in our bodies and being able to shield ourselves when we have one of our clairsenses really awakened is super important. So yeah, I can, just seeing you on the screen here, I can feel how full your living space is.
Mhm.
And again, Archangel Michael, the very simple one is Archangel Michael in front, Archangel Michael behind, or Lord Michael in front, Lord Michael behind, Lord Michael left, Lord Michael right, Lord Michael above, Lord Michael below, Lord Michael everywhere I go. You can tell I've said that enough times that I can say it really, really, really fast. But asking for Archangel Michael's protection. Well, and there's also Lady Estrella, or Elohim Estrella, who goosebumps here. Understanding the principalities of light and how we're never alone, how we all have guardian angels, how we all have guides in the light is really, really important, especially when we are dealing as with our clairsenses and connecting with people, because even if we have trouble being in someone's presence, we can speak to ourselves and recite a prayer in our mind's eye and envelop ourselves in God's grace, if you will. And this is something, this is an aspect of actual I am presence methodology that is ancient, that used to be taught all the time in the church. I'm going to get all churchy here on folks, even though I'm a Taoist. The Taoists have similar rituals of protection and invocation of the celestial beings for protection and guidance. So these practices are something, again, that are culturally worldwide. But you know, I'm a European descendant, so I have more connection to the Eurocentric notions of these practices than sort of some of the Eastern practices that I've been drawn to consciously in this lifetime. Now, that being said, I could keep throwing a few 3 or 4 cent comments at this, but it's about 8 o'clock my time. So, and we've been talking about this a fair bit. So thank you for sharing. This is sort of, again, an aspect of reality that goes beyond just the mental analysis of the ego and ego patterns. And when we embrace the hierarchies of light as clairsentient beings, then we can appreciate some of the divine magic that has brought us to this present moment. And this is one of the reasons why I find Eckhart Tolle's work so fascinating, is how he has explained the mechanics of ego for being in the present moment. Because from my perspective, there are so many more layers to being in the present moment than just the analysis of the ego. Not to take away from any of that. Anyhow.
2 cents?
Yeah, all 4 cents, no,
4 cents?
4 cents, 3.5.
Incredible. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Francesca, for your input as well, and grateful for it. What I would say, Kimberly, I don't know if you heard Francesca last week when she was talking to Patricia. What she said was, and this is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza says, is as we keep giving that energy, right? Like we say, oh, I'm going to look at my WhatsApp. I'm going to give my energy to this coworker. I'm going to give my energy to my ex-husband. I'm going to give my energy. We are, instead of being that 9-foot torus field, we are shrinking. Our field is shrinking. So you're shrinking the moment you say that your coworkers are draining your energy and you're actually feeling the irritation and annoyance, you're shrinking. And what that is, any irritation, any anger, any frustration, any, all those are survival. We are in fight and flight mode. They're called, we are creating, and then we are creating hormones of stress during that time, as though some animal is attacking us, but the animal is just your coworker, which you are going to see 2 times a week, right? Or even talk to them throughout the week, because you have to work with them. They're co-workers, your daily. So one of the things we talked about tuning into new potentials. Other than looking for a relationship, you may want to look for a new job where you are not working with the same type of coworkers, right?
Oh, in the
So,
last 2 weeks, I found out that the remaining 2 coworkers are leaving, so I'm the only one left in my department. So,
okay. So the universe, as you are going into presence power, it is changing, but does not mean the situation is ideal still. You're still feeling the irritation. Look at yourself. Look at the conditioning in your body, right? That your pain body is coming up and now I'm feeling irritation. The moment we feel irritation, we are condensing our field. So no matter we say presence is supposed to be the 9-meter wide field, torus field, right? It should be a torus field around us. We're shrinking it, right? So if we are shrinking it, then we have to, and we've told you quite a few times, you have to work on your energy centers. You have to bring up from the survival energy centers are 1, 2, and 3, right? 1 is like the anger and everything is in energy center 1. I think 3 is guilt, shame. Like 2 or 3 are guilt, shame, blame. So when we are stuck in those energy centers, then we are going to experience irritation, anger. You know, if you're angry, then we are selfish. Then we want to manipulate. We want to manipulate relationships. So 1, we have to train our body, and this is what Dr. Joe Dispenza's teachings are about. We have to train our body. Our body is going to take us back into the survival. We have for 20, 30, 40, whatever, how many ever years you've lived, right? Whatever your age is, for 40 years, you've been living in this survival mode, right? In this fight and flight mode. And if you've been through a lot of trauma and you say that you're working through your pain body, so there's a lot of trauma in your body, then you have to increase your vibrational energy to that level that you are, because matter to matter, going to workshops, going to this thing, your matter to matter, it doesn't work. You have to become more wave, particle to particle. It does not. So this is the example Dr. Joe Dispenza uses. Particle to particle, you'll have to move through space to get to time. And when you have to do that, then that means it'll take you 30 years to buy a house. You'll get into a mortgage and 30 years later, you'll buy a house. But wave to wave, something will happen and somebody will gift you the house. Something will happen, you'll suddenly go to and this is the whole concept of abundance consciousness. Like the abundance, how do you feel abundance within yourself? How do you feel empowered within yourself? How do you feel invincibility within yourself? Do you feel invincible? When you're telling somebody that they're draining me, are you feeling invincible at that moment? Are you feeling like an unlimited genius at that moment? Are you feeling like the divine is flowing through you in that moment? Does the divine say, I hate those people, they're irritating me and they're draining me? If source is flowing through me, do I feel that another person is draining me? I don't. If source is flowing through me, I have this energy that I can do anything, I can be anything, I can conquer the world, right? That is the abundance, that is the abundance that, and that's why, I said the walking he teaches you, whether you're sleeping, sitting, standing, walking, you are experiencing that abundance, no matter, and it's training, it's constant. That's why it's about doing the work. He calls it, are you doing the work? Right? It's about doing the work. I gave you all the meditations. Body Electric is incredibly amazing. Patricia has used Body Electric during COVID and healed herself of COVID, right? She found it that amazing. You'll feel the electricity within your body. You'll feel the darkness that you're feeling around you, right? You'll feel the energy that you are. Like, I feel like almost like there's like a 4-inch something, like, almost wearing a Gore-Tex jacket all around me. And it's just the energy that I feel after the meditation. It's so incredibly amazing. It's like mind-blowing. The meditation is that mind-blowing. So that is what abundance is. And once you feel that invincibility, once you feel that abundance, right, you will see either your job will change, you will disconnect from your ex-husband. And it's more like we have to get out of the habit of what we were doing, what Francesca was saying about psychological time, right? Being in the past. We need to train our body to not go in the past. Like if you wake up and you're used to going to the coffee mug, don't go to the coffee mug. Go drink water or do something, train your body to do something different than what you're normally used to. Like if you say, oh, I'm not going to go outside. I don't want to go outside because it's 30 degrees or whatever, it's 60 degrees. Put on a jacket and go outside in 30 degrees. Like do the opposite of what your conditioning, your body is telling you. Use your, Tony Robbins has this method where he has this like below minus 60 degrees or something. What do they call it? Like a little dipping pool. And he jumps into the pool.
It's
As soon as
56 degrees. He said that.
minus
56.
50, no matter what, he wakes up and he jumps into it. He wakes up and he jumps into it. No matter which house he's in Florida, he's anywhere in the country, wherever he is, he has one of those, freeze below sub-zero, whatever they're called. He has that little pool, right? Like the cryogenic thing that people have started doing. So he makes himself go in there. Why? Because he's training cold purges, Wim Hof method. Yeah. So it's training your body, that your mind is going to train your body. Your body is not going to tell you what to do. And all this memory is stored, and this is called neural pruning, right? Neurally, you have to prune all those old habits away. You've been a certain way 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, conditioned patterns running over and over, what Kelly calls programming, right? It's like just like a television programming. Like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, you're watching the episode of Friends over and over again for 30, 40 years. I mean, how boring is that? Right?
Well, I know one thing with Dr. Joe. I just got the book Becoming Supernatural and Breaking Bad Habits.
Breaking the habit of being yourself.
Yes, yes. So
Mhm.
I haven't started reading those. So that's kind of where I just started reading Eckhart's book in May-ish, June. So this is a process, and it's like maybe a year from now, hopefully I will get there. But with
Most
the
definitely.
fact,
it's about doing the work. Most
Yes.
definitely. And then Kelly and Kelly's partner teach Qigong. Qigong is a very incredible way of getting into your body, right? And you'll get an experience now that you've signed up for the workshop and paid for it. You'll get a chance. Kelly's going to teach some Qigong during one of his sessions. So you'll experience some Qigong, but you can always sign up, and they're very nominal. They're like $7 a session or something. Like US, it would be like $7-10. They're pretty nominal if you were to sign up for the sessions as well. So sign up, take up, tell your body you're going to be it's not going to rule you. You're going to be the mind, right? Body, mind, no, I'm going to be the mind and do things, break away from what you always did in your past. Like you said, every Sunday I call my ex-husband. No, you don't need to call your ex-husband. It's been years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. No, make a change. Today, I won't call you. I'm okay with you not calling you. Right? So learn to, you condition your body, and the more, that's what the ego is it loves the comfort zone, right? If I can be in a rut, if I can be in this every day in the morning, I wake up, I do this, I do this, I do this, I drink my coffee, I get into my car, I get dressed, I get into my car, I go to my work, I finish work, I come back, I turn on the TV, I eat my dinner, I'm so peaceful. No, that is not peaceful. That is not the peace that Eckhart is talking about. That's not the peace that Dr. Joe is talking about. Peaceful is actually experiencing our presence. Peaceful is actually knowing of what that presence power is to its fullest extent. Okay, now I know my presence power. Patricia was asking me, why am I signed up for Dr. Joe's retreat? And I said, I want to have some mystical experiences. His retreat promises that, right? I want to have a different experience. I just don't want to be, yeah, I achieve a certain presence power, but what can we do more? Right? What more can we do? Instead of just being an empath, can you be somebody that is psychic, that can help others with their issues? Can you be clairvoyant and help? How much more it's called a siddhi, right? Remote viewings, psychic powers, all of this is called, it's called a siddhi in India, right? It's a special power.
SIDDHI, CD.
Siddhi,
Yes.
yes. So these are called siddhis, like having remote viewing, the power of clairvoyance. So, what more can you do once you have a little bit of presence power? What more can you do is the question. And I'm telling you, the more presence you develop, right, automatically you'll find the right friends. Automatically things will change. You'll change your job, or they will change their job. Something will happen. Automatically you'll disconnect from your ex-husband. Automatically everything, all your relationships will heal, right? Last week I was talking about my mother. Like, I forgave somebody, and it was actually my mother that called me and said, hey, can you come to India, kind of thing, right? She had stopped talking to me. So things will heal automatically. You won't even realize how amazing is that, but it takes doing the work. It takes doing the work of being invincible. Can I, sleeping, standing, sitting, walking, live being unlimited, live being invincible, live being empowered, live being the divine? That's what it is about. Can I be that? It's about becoming. It's about being. And that's all it is. How much more can we do the being? Ken, I'll let you wrap it up because it's getting late. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tonight was awesome. I love how everybody expressed pieces of the puzzle of presence and just sharing their inner self and experiences. And it's amazing, Kimberly, when you were talking right off the bat, I'm an introvert, but the tone of your voice said so much more. And learning, and you said, I love being by myself. I love it. And I'm like, okay, why do you love being by yourself? And so it was amazing how what you were saying, but underneath that, there was something else going on. And it was just all it is, it's a feeling. And I'm learning to be in presence more and more and more. I just got back 3 days ago from 3 months of crossing the country, and I did it alone. And I did it to feel uncomfortable. And I needed to do it all by myself. And I didn't understand. I was petrified to do it. And I'm like, why am I petrified? And I went, okay. And the first 2 weeks I went, I didn't like it because I was alone. And I was like, and you know what I would say? I love being alone. I like being alone. No, I don't. But there are times I do like my alone time. But so I'm starting to really see that my unconsciousness at times, it's very cunning and baffling. It really has me to believe things that aren't true. That's because I'm in my thinking mind. I'm in my humanity. And then when I start letting go of that and I start really feeling the presence, the stillness, and then there are certain places that I really love being. And one place is the forest. Forest is my favorite place. It's my safe place, always was. And so I really wanted to be by myself, to have a relationship with myself. And then I realized that I can't project my stuff on anybody. I can't make mistakes and blame, criticize and judge. So as I'm doing these things, uncomfortability is part of the process. I'm starting to have gratitude for my uncomfortability. And to me, they're just detours in life. I'm going around things. I'm not leaning into it. And then I started seeing parts of myself that I didn't like. And then I'm learning to embrace those parts. Those are my shadow parts. Those are the parts I tried to push away because I didn't want to dig into the feelings. And so I went, and then it got to the point too where in the morning I would say, I love you, meaning me. And then I would say, what do you want to do today? And I said, oh, you really want to do that, huh? You want to drive close to the edge of these cliffs? You want to walk? Well, what about that bear that you're afraid of? What about if I take this path? And so I says, will you stop thinking? You don't have to think. I'm with you now and I can hold you. So if we do see a bear, we'll deal with it. It was amazing how everything, and there's so many things that I want to say with Poonam the second time she was talking. She is saying so many things. I'm like, that's what I want to say. That's what I'm feeling. That's what I want to say. And it's about the deep feelings. It's about how confronting all those inner parts of me that I have been denying. And I found that if is anything that I don't like or judge, or if I criticize somebody I don't like, I realize that's my denial. I need to love. There's a part of me, and it's just like Kelly was saying, and I'm realizing I'm always talking about me. If I'm talking about somebody else, it's not about them, it's about me. And I'm learning the healing comes through my, I want to say, my inner being. I want to say that it doesn't come through my thinking mind at all. The presence energy is connected to my inner being. And when I'm in that stillness and I'm in that loving energy, nothing can touch me. And that's what a big thing that Poonam was really talking about. So if I don't like is all ego, because love loves. And realizing that that's my inner feeling toward something else. That's my stuff. Now I'm starting to say that's my denial. And I usually will say, I love you. I'll say thank you. And I'm learning to have gratitude for all the things that come up that are uncomfortable, because they're helping me to lean into it, because it has a lesson for me. And whether it's my mind, whether it's my emotions, whether it's my feelings, or whether it's my spirit, I'm starting to realize that all that has to be healthy. And I got to stop trying to figure things out, because that automatically will let me know I'm thinking. And I'm more and more, I got to go into the awareness. Not I got to go. I'm leaning into it and realizing that there's a different energy. And my body feels. And I'm learning to read the communication of feeling without the words, because then the words will come through the feeling, and that comes deep within. And that's not connected to thinking at all. That's all that is my presence. And so many things I was doing on the trip, and I'm realizing that I was always seeing myself in the mountains, in the animals, in the forests. Whatever I was feeling was just my reflection of something that I'm touching inside, and that is my inner being. That's the other communication of presence that doesn't think. And it was amazing. I found myself wading in different streams. I'm walking, I'm singing, I'm getting wet. I'm like acting like a kid and loving it. And I haven't done this in 50 years. I would think about it, but I wasn't doing it. So doing something and thinking about something, again, not the same. Reading a book. Now it's feeling. I'm thinking of when I first came on this program, I was petrified. I was petrified of Kelly because he uses words I don't know. He explains things. But there was something I was starting to understand when I was letting go of my fear. Even tonight, I'm like, I'm really following him, even though I don't know exactly what he's saying. So I'm using that as an example that we're all putting out energy, and that inner feeling is the communicator. That's what we're connecting to. And I'm learning to love and accept everybody on this group, where sometimes certain things might be said or done that irritates me. And I'm like, stick with it a while. Come 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. All of a sudden, it starts to shed. And I realize that's my stuff. It's not theirs. They're actually a gift that's helping me allow the presence to come out. And that's what I do. I'll pray, I'll meditate. I know I have a higher self, and sometimes I take a different path or stick something out, and that is the gift. I go further than reacting to something. And it's amazing. All of a sudden, I'm hearing somebody, and I love what Kelly was saying. Listen, it's so true. Just listen, don't say a word. It's amazing how the answers come when you listen a little bit longer. All of a sudden, I understand now. So this was fantastic tonight. And thank you all. And thank you for bringing up this question. It really opened up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Eternally
Thank you for
grateful to
coming
Kim.
back, right? We're so happy
Love you,
to have
Ken.
you back.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, guys.
Wow.
Eternally grateful, Kimberly, for your question. So what I would say is one of the things Dr. Joe says I think it's Hebb's law, nerve cells that fire together, wire together. So he actually turns it to nerve cells that no longer fire together, no longer wire together. So learn to make sure that your nerve cells no longer fire the old emotions, right? Train your body. When those people are irritating, then maybe get some meditation music and put on meditation music and get like into high degree of presence so that you are actually feeling love towards them. You don't have to love on them or have a conversation with them, but at least you're feeling a sense of empathy and compassion, kind of loving kindness, even though they're having their drama or whatever they're having their conversation about, you're at least feeling that loving kindness towards them. And soon enough, you'll find new friends. This being the introvert, you'll start to see there's a little bit of an extrovert in you because you already are going to different conferences and you're doing things that are, you're engaging with the world, right? You're not reclusive. Carl Jung used to be reclusive. Like he would go up in his island and sit in one place in his cottage in around an island where there was nobody, right? You are at least going to these comic conventions and these workshops and all that. So you're not an introvert. There is an extrovert in you if you are going and doing all these, going to museums and everything. So that's what I would say is train your body. Don't do the past things because that's the psychological time that Francesca was talking about, that we are sitting in the past. And if you're sitting in the past, we are taking our past and putting it in our present, and that becomes our future. We're just repetitively doing the same cycles over and over again. And tell your body, I want to do something different. Your soul, because you're on this path, your soul wants to do something different. That's why you ask the question that you want to do something different. So do something different.
Just you being on this panel is incredible. You're sticking it out. You're smiling with a beautiful smile. You're listening.
You're glowing,
Absolutely.
right?
And
Radiant and glowing.
absolutely. And it will all wear on you, just like we're going to wear on us. We're all interconnected. It's amazing when we understand this. It's the miracle of life, as far as I'm concerned. So
This was incredibly amazing. So it's been a long day. I know Patricia is about to fall off a chair and fall asleep. So have a fantastic evening, everyone. Eternally grateful that everyone was here. Much love. And I'll see you all on the workshop this weekend. Everybody remember, we have the workshop. Okay. Good night. Bye. Many blessings.